Hey everyone, it's Scott from Heroic Studios Gaming. Coming at you again with another video. Today I wanted to talk about a book that I recently read, listened to. I did the audiobook version this time. A book that I got through called Robopocalypse by Daniel H. Wilson. Daniel H. Wilson actually lives in Portland, Oregon, which is interesting to know. But he's a member of the Cherokee Nation, and so this was a story that was written by a person who is a Native American, and so I wanted to read it as part of this month's theme. It was actually really, really good. So essentially, it's a story about the robot apocalypse, and it starts following McCormick Wilson, who's a member of the Bright Boy Squad, whose team recently finished cleaning up a lot of the stuff in like the last bastions of where like the human war finally finished with the robots. But they discover a cube that contains a whole lot of information. It turns out to be like the brain box of the whole robot apocalypse, and it consists of a bunch of recordings of people who explain their interactions with robots. And so it's a story that's like it's like a book of a bunch of short stories that are all different snippets of the slow build to the robot apocalypse. And so it's actually really well done because it covers everything leading from like the before the infection of the robot virus to all the way to like near the end. And it covers all of the stuff that happened, but it's told not in a way that's like a linear story where Daniel Wilson had to like sort of create like this linear story from start to finish. Instead, it which would be a series or would be boring. He instead sort of broke it into like chapters that are like individual snippets of what happened. So you get this kind of like suspensefulness because you don't know like how what's going on in the background. Like the computer isn't really telling the story per se. What it's doing is the McCormick Wilson is just getting these snippets, and he's sort of trying to lay them out in chronological order to be able to write a report about what this robot contains. It's really well done as far as sort of thrillers stories go, and I found myself drawn into them because it doesn't take place in just like one place. It jumps all over. So it gives us like looks into like what happened in Japan or things like that. And I honestly quite enjoyed it. I understand that Daniel Wilson himself has like a degree in robotics, and so he understands a lot of like the background going into this. And I don't really have much to say other than some of the stories inside were pretty cool. Like I really liked it. Honestly, I really liked the story. As much as I hate dolls, there's a story about a little girl's doll essentially coming to life and like talking to her and trying to convince her not to create the Robot Defense Act. And like what's weird about that whole story is like I hate dolls, and I hate dolls very personal, like a scare, like I'm scared of dolls, but not so much scared of them. Like clowns, my biggest thing that I'm really scared of. But I don't like dolls because of like lots of horror stories involve dolls, but because I actually had an incident when I was a kid that involved a clown doll. And it scared the living bejesus out of me. And to this day, I still have no idea how to explain exactly what happened in that particular incident. But this story involved a doll that kind of comes alive. It's the I can't remember the name of it. It's like Baby's Alive or something like that. Doll. And it starts talking to the character Matilda, who's the daughter of the senator who signed the Robot Defense Act, or at least like wrote the Robot Defense Act. But and the whole point of that story is that it showed that whatever robot, like the robot sentience that we kind of know, Arcos, which is the name of the main robot that's in charge of like the robot apocalypse. It did start. It was chronological, so we do get the story of like the turning on of Arcos, and it's taking on a like child persona of the main guy, and then taking over his computer systems, and et cetera, et cetera. But we find that this thing Arcos is like slowly figuring stuff out and sort of intervening in places where it would cause the most effect. And so instead of attacking like the senator directly, Arcos decides to go at the kid because all the two kids of the senator have a bunch of little robot toys. Or robotic toys with electronic devices. And this is actually interestingly creepy for any of us who live in the modern age, who rely on our phones and on our like all of our devices. I'm currently making this video on an electronic device, and so it was really good to like tie that back into the reader and make them remember that, like, hey, if you're listening to this on Audible, you might want to reconsider that if you're worried about the robot apocalypse. It was very well done from a realistic standpoint. And like I said, I understand that's because the writer himself has a degree in robotics, and so that's why it seemed accurate. It was written a little bit ago. It was written a few years ago. I think it came out in 2011. If my notes are correct, in which case it wasn't like fully up to date with the current technology that we have. And I think that if there was an updated version, we would be surprised at the kinds of things that he would have used in the stories as where it would come in. Like certainly algorithms on TikTok would have factored into the robot apocalypse for sure, especially like suppressing any news and stuff about robots going haywire and killing people. Yeah. But so moral of the story is I liked it. I gave it 2 thumbs up. It actually gave me ideas for stuff I probably should have done for Maximum Apocalypse and may release in a supplement. But it also hit a lot of points that I already thought of, like about how reliant we are on technology and what would happen if it were just to stop, or, heaven forbid, turn against us. Maximum Overdrive did an okay job showing us that, but like this was a newer level, and I think even if we updated or wrote a sequel like Robopocalypse 2, that Daniel Wilson would probably write something that included more things that like touch us today, like, you know, messing with your KDR and like or whatever mobile game, and stuff. Yeah, so it was actually very good. I liked it quite a bit, so I just want to give it thumbs up, 2 thumbs ups, and hand it to you guys to be able to read it or listen to it if you want to, and also support, like for me, an indie writer in the Portland area, and also a person who is Native American. So, you know, hey, all good there. So that's it. That's all I have to say. Very short review of the book, but there's not much to say about it. I can't give you like a whole overarching story because it's made up of snippets, but it's really good. So I would recommend doing that. So anyway, that's it for me. I hope that you get some time to read some books. I've got a lot of graphic novels to get through since Comic-Con, Rose City Comic-Con is now over. Too many, actually. I'm not sure I'll get through all of them before the end of the year and the next Rose City Comic-Con. So we'll see how it goes. But I will see you all later.